how you expand your little functional bubble. And then the last thing we're going to finish with will be a little bit of recovery and normalization of tissues. So first thing we're going to do, let's just try a little test for me. You're just going to sit and reach your hands forward, just like someone's handing you a bag of apples. You're just going to sit, reach into the back of the truck, grab those apples, and get a sense of what that feels like in and around your lower back. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of magic. We call it rub and scrub. It's a local circulation strategy to drive some fluid to your lower back. So you're just going to make a couple knuckles and give your lower back a knuckle sandwich. You're going to go up and down, scraping up and down on the bones of the lower back. So this triangle bone that comes up on your pelvis here is called the sacrum. We're going to scrub up and down on the sacrum bone just to drive a little bit of fluid to that area, but also to loosen up and just get the sliding surfaces of these tissues to move a little bit better when we go and reach. Okay, so now we're going to go to the outside of the hip bones. So find the bone that it goes down the thigh. You'll feel this little knob there. You're going to scrub up and down on there. So you can see my hand is just kind of creating a little friction against it. Go up and down on those bones. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Find the bones on the front of the hips. You'll feel these little knobs right there on the front of the hip. You're going to rub straight up and down with your knuckles on that spot. Okay. All right, let's do a little bit of mobilizing. So put your hands on your hips. Turn this down just a little bit. So hands are on your hips. Feet are going to be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and we're just going to slide your hips left to right. So now we're going to mobilize the hip joints, starting with the pelvis. So we call this the frontal plane of motion. So in the frontal plane of motion, your hips are moving left to right. We're just getting a nice, smooth motion here. It doesn't have to be big. Just has to be slow and rhythmical. Okay, now we're going to take one foot further forward than the other. So I'm just going to take my left foot, bring it further forward, and now we're going to rotate at the torso. Rotate the trunk and let those feet absorb that rotation. You'll notice one foot kind of collapses in the front while the other one arches, and then vice versa when you rotate in the other direction. Okay, and then stagger the other foot forward. A little rotation of the hip. Okay, and then now we're going to stagger your stance. So we're going to reach your hips back and forward. Back, forward. Okay, stagger your other foot forward. Same motion with the hip, reaching your hips back and going forward with it. Okay, so now we're going to put the other foot forward. What we're going to do is we're just going to take your hips through the word circumduction, which means just draw a circle with your pelvis. So what we're doing is while the feet are fixed on the ground, the pelvis is moving on the femurs. And so as the pelvis moves, as the femur is kind of fixed in one spot, it gives us lots of rotation in hip joints themselves. So the ball and socket joint. So we do that by drawing a circle. Now let's go the other direction. Feet are in the same spot. We're drawing a circle in the other direction. Okay, let's go the other foot forward. Drawing a circle. I started counterclockwise. You can mirror me. Other direction. Clockwise. Okay, and then let's test out that little sit and reach where you're reaching for the apples and see if that feels any better for you. For me, that felt like it gave me a little bit of space. So let's explore that space now. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to have you step forward and reach forward. Then you do the other leg, step forward and reach forward. So this is called a lunge pattern. And we're just going to have both arms moving the same time as the foot. Plant that foot and return. Keep doing that. I'm going to lower this a little bit so you can see what my feet are doing. Step, reach. Step and reach. One more time. Okay, so let's do the same reach going forward, but let's step to the side as we reach. Step and reach to the side. Step and reach to the side. Okay, now we're going to do a little trickier one. We're going to have you step. If my left foot is stepping, my left foot's going to go to 8 o'clock. So I'm just going to open my stance up as I step, reach forward, come home. We'll do the same side because this one's a little trickier. And come back. So open, reach, come back. Reach. And we'll do that one more time. There we go. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. This time my right foot is going to go to 4 o'clock. So I open up, reach forward, come back. So my hands are always reaching forward in line with my chest and straight forward relative to where my chest is. Now this is just what I picked for today. But we could reach in lots of different directions. And that will change what anatomy comes to play the game. So what parts of the body come to play the game? What muscles, what connective tissues, what joints are impacted? All that changes when we reach in a different direction. Okay, so let's play around with that idea. We'll go back to our forward step. This time, let's reach at an angle. So I'm going to step forward with my left and I reach both hands at chest height to the left. And what will happen now is you're going to feel more rotation happening in the spine. Okay, let's go to the other foot. 1 step forward, rotate across my body. Rotate across my body as I reach forward. Still my reach is at chest height, but because I changed the direction of my reach, I've got a different reaction happening with the body, which is great because this helps form our three-dimensional bubble. As we like to say, our sphere of function. How well do I move in all directions, distances, and depths? Call that 3D, direction, distance, and depth. Okay, let's go to the side now. So if I step to the side, I'm still going to rotate, turn my body and reach forward. Turn my body and reach forward as I lunge to the side. This is changing the tissues that are being loaded through my body. That's got to go through my foot, through my pelvis, through my hips, into the torso, into my spine, and into the arms. Okay, let's go to the other side. Lunging, rotating. Lunge straight sideways, turn and reach. Time. There we go. And now this is my favorite one. So we're going to rotate like we did last time. Just open and reach. Turn, open and reach. Almost like I got my foot nailed to the ground in the front. That one doesn't move. We're just going to turn the body and reach. Okay, let's go to the other side now. Stepping, opening, turn and reach. Step, open, turn and reach. Two more. We'll do one more. Fantastic. All right. We'll just do a little marching while I chat here. The next thing we're going to play around with is the motion, the squat. A squat by definition is a fold of the body. So what we're going to do is we are going to fold the body straight up and down. So find a stance that's maybe about hip width apart, your toes pointed forward, you cross your hands in front of your chest. And we're just going to fold your body like you're taking a piece of paper and folding it into threes. We fold at the ankle, we fold at the knee, and we fold at the hip and trunk. Just like that. Just like that. Find your bubble that you feel most comfortable in. That means you don't have to go very far. Just go rhythmically. Two more. One more. Okay, let's change our stance a little bit. Let's go a little bit wider. So we're going to be lots wider than hip width. Hands are going to cross. Fold the body in three places. The ankle, the knee, and the torso. Hips and torso. Three more. And last. Okay, and let's make it a little bit goofier this time. We're going to go 1 foot further forward and then the other. And on this back foot, you're going to try and keep your heel off the ground. I hope you can see that. And we're going to just do the same thing. We're going to fold here. So flex the ankle, the knee, and the trunk. Okay, front ankle flexes, knee flexes, hip flexes. Okay, and again, you just explore your bubble, how far you feel comfortably going. Go ahead and switch stance. Put the other leg forward. Flex together. Hold yourself up. Hold yourself up. There we go. Okay, we're going to play around with a couple more stances. This time we're going to take your feet that about hip width apart, turn your toes in, hands across your chest, and you're going to squat, let your knees come together like you're a hockey goalie. Do this, you're not going to be able to go too far because we changed the orientation of the hip joint. It's not going to let you. But what this does is this is going to give us a nice little stretch into the inside capsule of the hip joint. So it becomes like a nice little massage. Gravity massages us for free. All we had to do is just change the way your feet were touching the ground. Okay, one more time. Very good. And then we're going to do the same thing with your toes turned out, kind of a little bit like a duck. So you're going to just turn your hips open, keep those knees open, and fold. So that'll kind of give you a little bit more range of motion in the hip. So you go up and down. All right, so let's go ahead and do our beginning test. Where you had to sit and reach and grab for apples. You should feel like you have way more space to reach, way more freedom of motion at the hips and the pelvis and the lower back than when you started. Okay, and so there was two little things that we did there. We tweaked, we call it tweaking, but changing a variable in your lunge, by definition, a step and return. We did a little matrix of that, and then we did a little matrix of the squat by changing your foot position in a variety of different ways. And all that loosen up all the connective tissue around the major joints that are involved in those particular tasks. Okay, so let's do a little bit of normalization. We'll do a little bit of recovery here for those tissues. We want to normalize them or get them back to resting length. So let's take a really long stride here. We use the same tweak science that we use in applied functional science. This back heel is going to be off the ground. And all we're going to do here is I just want you to slowly drop, like you're lowering your level, like about 2 inches. Okay, lower that level. You should feel you get a bit of a stretch on this trail leg as you lower your level. Some could think about just reaching this knee straight forward, and that'll help you lower your level a little bit. Think about keeping long on the back leg. Up and down. Okay, then we're going to slide those feet together, go to the other side. Switch directions here so you can see me better. Heels off the ground. Slowly drop your hip or push your front leg's knee forward. And just finishing with a little mobilizer for that back hip. Okay, keep your stance open and wide here. We're going to do a little lateral squat stretch. Just shift your weight, take your hands, place them on the top of the thigh. We're going to hold this position and take some deep breaths. Try to do it while keeping your mouth closed. Breathing only through the nose. Okay, let's try the other side. Rotate, hands on the thigh, deep breaths. Okay, and come up. From here, we're just going to stagger your foot. One foot just a tiny bit further forward than the other. You're just going to reach down towards the floor, let your arms hang. Get a nice stretch in through your lower back. Then come up. You don't want to stay down there too long, maybe 5 or 10 seconds. And repeat. Come back up. One more time. Okay, stagger your other foot forward. It's about half a foot length further forward than the other. Reach towards the ground. Back up. Okay. If you have a little chair, go ahead and grab your chair. Give me our last little stretch we do. So you're going to have your chair here in front of you. And I'm just going to have a little seat, bring my ankle up onto my knee, and try to think about trying to get perfect angles here. So 90-degree perfect angles at all the joints, even the ones in the front of me here. Get as tall as you can, and we're just going to hold that position, taking some deep breaths. Okay, we transition to the other foot. To get to perfect 90s everywhere. Nice and tall, square through your shoulders. Slowly pull your leg out of that position. Pull your spine as tall as you can, hands together, elbows out to the side. Think about getting as tall as possible. Really wide through your breath. Let that breath expand into your rib cage. There you go. How'd that feel, everybody?
Nice work there, Johnny, as usual.
Buddy.
Awesome.
It's just what I needed until my
Great.
computer overheated in the sun. Sorry about that.
Oh, it looked nice and sunny wherever you are, Holly. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
It is. It's beautiful today. I'm here at our home office. So
Nice.
Lovely.
yeah, thank you. That was much needed. It felt great.
I'm gonna need to remember to not wear these shirts when I rub and scrub with my knuckles. I scrub the skin right off my hand.
Oh.
Yeah, I have Levi's on. I did the same.
I'll just be like, okay, if you have rough pants, take your pants off on this.
Yeah,
one.
There you
yeah.
go. That would be great outside.
It was feeling so good. I didn't feel it in my hand until I finished.
Awesome. All right, so we've got a few of us in studio here on Zoom. We got a bunch on YouTube, John. About I think 40 or 50 people joined us on YouTube today. So if anybody, if you're in studio, have a question, just turn your mic on, ask a question. I'm monitoring YouTube chat, John. If you, if anybody has a question for John there. So the format of these clinics are exactly what you just experienced. It's, hey, we're going to do about 21 minutes of movement, and then John sticks around for about 20 minutes. If you have any questions at all about anything that's going on regarding movement or how that session went for you, that's what this is for. And just to note, I got asked this last time, is none of you who are on camera on Zoom right now are on YouTube. There's a reason John's spotlighted here on the Zoom call. So some people are just asking, they didn't want to be on YouTube. I get it. So just John is showing up on YouTube right now. So John, let's see. Actually, is there anybody quickly on the Zoom call? Does anybody have a question for John? Holly, anything on your mind? And then I can go and check the YouTube chat here as well.
No, I don't have anything on my mind necessarily, but my low back was really tight just from working out and sitting at my desk today, and that relieved it really well. So I need to remember to incorporate this on the daily, not just when John is just displaying it.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I'm so happy that made you feel better, Holly. Whenever we can kind of get an opportunity to move around, let me give you something, the way we can think about what we're doing here. Really, the bit is, how do I drive circulation into that area that's kind of sore, sticky, or not moving very well, right? So we chose rub and scrub. There's lots of cool things you could do. Even just changing your temperature, right? So going for a walk will actually drive fluid directly to the lower back, because the pelvis needs to subtly rotate and tilt as you're doing that. So that's a good way. The other thing that you could do is anything that that can bring circulation directly to that area. So like heating pads are a really great way to drive circulation there, you know? So if you ever feel like you're kind of stiff, like just throw on a heating pad. I've got a product by Hyperice called the Hyperice Venom, and it vibrates and heats at the same time. It's just a little belt that goes on, and it's got some different settings for different heat and stuff like that. I can show you real quick. So this is a lovely product to have in the office with our friends from Hyperice. Hyperice here, you just wrap it around your body, buckle it in. I've gone through like 5 of these because I burn them out because I wear them all the time over the last 5 years. And they got these little things in here, and you just turn it on, you crank up the heat, and you press start, and it like vibrates. So I don't know if you can see anything that's going on, but in a few minutes it'll really heat up. So this is one way that I drive circulation to my lower back. So step 1 is circulation. Step 2 is I just got to mobilize. So a mobilizer by definition is just slow, subtle motion, like we started just moving the pelvis, right? So our goal is just to tilt the pelvis side to side, rotate it, and then flex it and extend it. So I think of like 3 primary planes of motion. We got side to side, forwards and backwards, and twisting, right? If you do that, then that's going to get all those bones to just slightly start to move a little bit, right? Because most often our pain comes from stiffness and lack of motion. So if I take it through those 3 planes of motion, then it's going to start to feel better, right? And then once I get those tissues kind of moving a little bit, then I want to incorporate maybe the arms with it. Because now what my T-spine does, my thoracic spine, it moves in relation to where my hands are going in time and space, and it reacts to where I go in time and space. So the thoracic spine drives motion to the lumbar spine, right? So we did some stuff for the pelvis, but then how do I get the lumbar spine to move? It doesn't really like to move in the frontal plane very much, and it does a tiny bit of motion in the transverse plane, but it does more motion in flexion and extension. That's usually where we get kind of, ooh, like my back's really sore when I bend forward, right? It's because we're lacking motion in the other areas. So we access that by reaching in different directions, right? Today we just did an anterior reach, but had your hips moving in a different direction so that when my hips are moving in a different direction, I'm accessing what's going in the thoracic spine differently relative to the pelvis and the hips. So just think 3 different directions, side to side, forwards, backwards, and twisting. That makes up those 3 triplane motions. And then what I did is after that, we went, well, let's see how well your body can integrate with gravity in the ground. And I picked two kind of movement patterns, the lunge pattern, which is just step and return, right? We did this, we did this, we did that. And then I picked the squat. The squat is just folding the body. So now we're playing around with different directions. And then I changed it with vertical depth. Right? And so by doing all those and changing your foot position, now we're accessing what tissues come to play the game, which means as force enters the body, it's got to travel in a different direction. And then what joints are affected by that are based on where I want to go and what my task is and where I'm traveling, right? So yeah, that's what we kind of did today is how do I get my lower back feeling a little bit better? I've got to get those joints feeling like they can move in a better direction. And then I want to create omnidirectional movement, or is direction in a lot of different ways, and then access it with different reaches and stuff like that. So that's kind of like the method to the madness of how we get movement becoming your therapy.
Yeah, that's great, John. I like that because I think one of the big questions we often get is like, why are we doing so many different kinds of movement? So actually, there's a little bit of a chat going on YouTube now around how people felt when you were changing your feet position in the squat pattern. So some people were feeling tightness in certain, in certain stances, and other people not. So maybe just expand on like what's going on there, so people can kind of understand A, what's going on, and B, why at 7 movements we do so much. Like it seems so random of the movement, but it's not, right?
Yeah, so everybody has, well, let's just start with this. Your body's not the same as anybody else's on the call, right? And so all the different circumstances that make up your day or the days previous will affect how your tissues respond to movement when we move you in time and space. I always say in 4D technically, because 3 dimensions is directions, distance, and depth, but where we are on our planet, our 4th dimension is time. So where am I relative to gravity in an element of time? Because the time it takes me to get from this point to this point is different from this point to this point, but also so is how your body reacts to where you are in time and space. So let's say for for example, you're somebody that sits at a desk for long periods of time versus somebody who's up working an assembly line or working at in a more standing environment. When you're in a seated position, those muscles are chronically short in the front side of the body. So anytime you squat, that might feel like, oh, I can access that motion pretty good because I my body wants to go to about the height at which I'm in a seated position. But then beyond that, the tissues don't really want to move that well. So you might feel like, oh, I'm kind of stuck there. Or if you're someone who sits at the desk and crosses their legs, you might find one hip internally rotates more than the other because one leg's crossed over. And then when you go to try to split your stance and internally rotate that foot, you're okay in that one, but the other one doesn't want to move so well. And so as soon as you cross your legs, you're doing this to the pelvis. So the pelvis is shifting also because the leg has to raise to cross the other leg. And so now your pelvis is shifted. So as you're squatting, you might be stuck in this position, but you're not accessing symmetrical motion. That's why we keep changing your stance and do all these wacky things with it. So we can start to get some variable motion and force going through those connective tissues to allow you to access normal motion. What I say normal is actually every joint in the body has an instantaneous axis of rotation, which means it has an optimal instantaneous axis of rotation. Actually, the hip joint itself is a ball and socket joint. It goes like this, but if we sit for too long, this bone gets pushed to the backside of the capsule and then elevated. And so then what happens is you try to rotate and it doesn't want to go anywhere. So then what we have to do is we move, we do all these mobilizers, and then that brings that bone to want to sit into its optimal position. And now I can access more motion in that hip joint, right? And so the goal with all of it, as Dan said, is it seems random, but the right word is variable. So variability is the key to health. So if I give you a variable input, there has to be a change in the output. Does that make sense? So I give you a different task or set you up in a different position, then ask you to complete a task, the body has to respond because we're subservient responders to gravity pushing down on us and the ground, how it pushes back into us. That's how force enters our body and how we're able to take that force of your own body weight relative to gravity and spread it into the system. That's what makes us efficient movers. And when we become inefficient when we only do one thing all the time, right? So I work with a lot of distance runners that are always running. You ask them to go sideways and they can't, right? So they're very inefficient in that pattern because they're so entrained, their tissues are entrained to go in that direction. So we do a lot of rotation and a lot of sideways motion to offset the repetitive stress of their activity.
Awesome. I see we've got, it sounds like a nurse here. Susie is asking a question. So she's saying the lunge patterns felt really, really good because she's on her feet all day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything you could give her to help her feet feel better?
Yeah, number one would be, and it's a long topic that we could talk about, but one is starting to take care of your feet. So when we're in really soft, cushiony shoes on hard surfaces for long periods of time of the day, then the arch of the foot never gets an opportunity to really do its job. So the arch is designed to act like a little trampoline when your foot hits the ground, but then it's got to get rigid to help you push off, right? So when you take a step. So because you're a nurse and you probably travel 10 or 12 miles a shift, it's a little wonder why your feet get so sore. But because you're also on concrete all day, you need a softer shoe to help cushion the blow of all those steps. So what I would recommend for giving some love to your feet is when you get home, and if the climate is nice enough for you to do that, is to take your shoe off and go walk in the grass for a little bit. And so if you're in your yard, you walk in the grass, or if you're lucky enough to have a rock garden, just walk around on some stones. And what that'll do is it does a whole bunch of stuff chemically, but also biomechanically. It's going to stimulate the mechanoreceptors at the bottom of the feet, which are often not activated. So an activation by definition is how we sensitize different systems in the body. You have these mechanoreceptors in the bottom of your feet that help your nervous system know that the pressure that's being applied to the bottom of the foot stimulates the nervous system. And then your foot can mold differently when you're walking on different surfaces. So, and you get all the negative electrons that come through the ground go right through your skin and into your system, which helps energize the body as well. So taking care of your feet, massaging the bottom of your foot. Sometimes we could do that with like a golf ball or a marble or a series of marbles of different sizes, just to give that some circulation. It's basically a rub and scrub of the fascia on the bottom of the foot. So that's a really good way to treat the bottom of your foot. And then start playing around with spreading your toes. A lot of the shoes we wear today are often, the boxes of the toe box at the front of them are often narrow. You're seeing a big push towards barefoot shoes, which just give you a wider toe box to spread your toes out, and then work on just splaying the foot. Splay the foot, spread those toes out throughout the day, and then that will stretch all the intrinsic muscles that lay between the metatarsals of the foot, and that will just kind of stretch them out, which will give your foot a little bit of relief too.
Awesome. Thanks, John. All right. So I see we got a bunch of chat going on in the YouTube, but not many questions. So yeah, maybe we'll wrap it up here, John. So thank you everybody for joining us in studio here today. I'd encourage anyone on YouTube to jump onto 7movements.com, register for our Pain-Free Movement Monday clinic. It comes at this time every Monday. You can get your questions asked and answered, and come just do some movement snacking with us. So excited to see everybody here. Holly, Carolyn, Ron, really awesome having you on the call. And hopefully we'll see you again next Monday.